Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1929 AN. Today's date is July 29th, 2019, and the title of the episode is All Pieces in Place, Full Control of Economic Narrative Has Arrived. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about Bitcoin. Everyone thought Bitcoin was dead. Cryptos are finished. Just a few months ago, this was the general outlook for digital currencies. Noble Bitcoin always believed. They were one of the first to offer crypto IRAs and 401k rollovers. So call Noble Bitcoin today and find out more. Call today and learn how you can move your IRA, old 401k into Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ripple, and few other of the top cryptocurrencies. Call 877-646-5347. It is a free, no obligation phone call. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, everything is being put into place, and it seems like the plan is moving forward, not just with the deep state, not just with the D class, but with the economic narrative. Trump and the patriots, they are placing all players, everything in place to take down the central bank. This will become apparent right after Trump wins the election. But before that time, Trump needs to fully control the economic narrative. Because if Trump and the patriots, if they do not control the entire economic narrative, it will be game over. And the reason why I say that is because people, they vote with their wallets. They want their money safe. They want the economy doing well. And if everything comes to a screeching halt and everything collapses, it's going to be a major problem. This is why Trump has been positioning everything that we've been seeing for a specific purpose. That is, one, to win the 2020 election, to make sure people understand that the economy is doing great. Two, is to put all eyes on the Fed. Every time Trump tweets out or says something about the economy, he always refers back to the Federal Reserve. They don't know what they're doing. I wish they would cut rates. Everyone else is doing it. Why isn't the Fed? This is all being done on purpose. He tweeted out the following. The EU and China will further lower interest rates and pump money into their systems, making it much easier for their manufacturers to sell product. In the meantime, and with very low inflation, our Fed does nothing and probably will do very little by comparison. Too bad. Trump right there is letting everyone know that if the Fed does not do something, guess what? They're to blame. Now, we understand that Trump wants the rates cut. He wants stimulus started. There's a reason for this. And we know that the Fed is getting prepared and ready to cut rates. They have no other choice. Actually, the Fed, the central banks around the world, they've trapped themselves, and now there's no way out. They have to do what Trump is telling them to do. Why do you think the ECB is out there saying, hey, you know something? We're going to be cutting rates, and most likely we're going to start stimulus once again. Why do you think the Fed is out there, and why do you think they're going to be cutting rates? Most likely in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see the Fed come out and say, hey, we just cut their rates. Trump tweeted out the following. The Fed raised way too early and way too much. Their quantitative tightening was another big mistake. While our country is doing very well, the potential wealth creation that was missed, especially when measured against our debt, is staggering. We are competing with other countries that know how to play the game against the U.S. That's actually why the EU was formed. And for China, until now, the U.S. has been easy pickings. The Fed has made all the wrong moves. A small rate cut is not enough. But we will win anyway. Now, what Trump is trying to say is that the Fed right now, they're going to cut by a small amount. And he's saying, listen, other countries are doing exactly what I want the Fed to do. And the Fed is not doing it. So if we don't grow as fast as I would like, it's the Fed's fault. And all the other countries, they're going to spring ahead. Now, what is happening here is Trump is continually letting the people know that the Federal Reserve eventually is going to be the problem. They're the ones who are going to destroy the economy. And the mainstream media, they're out there and they're trying to figure out a way in how they can play this. Now, this is coming out of the New York Post, and the headline is, "The Fed is courting disaster by leaving interest rates too low." Now, think about what is happening. In the past, and the mainstream media knows this, the Fed knows this because they're the ones who created these recessions. They created the bubbles, then they had the bubbles come down, and then we entered a recession or depression, and it was awful. Think about how they did this in the past. They knew exactly when to stop raising rates. They raised them, and they continued to do this until there was a tipping point. And then at this point, when nobody was looking, nobody was the wiser, they started to drop the rates. And that was the domino effect. We've seen this many, many times before. We go back to all the recessions. It's the same exact pattern. Now, what is happening here is that the mainstream media is saying, listen, as you can see from the past, we've always had the same exact results. It's funny how they didn't talk about this before. They're talking about when the Fed raised the rates. We always entered a recession once we started to drop the rates. The part that they're missing, the part that they're not saying, because they're hoping that we have this recession before the 2020 elections, the part that they're missing is that it took like 2 years before that recession hit. What we saw when the Fed started to drop rates, we still saw the economy chug along. It gives it a little boost. And we get this boost, and it's normally a 2-year period. This is why Trump is planning this out very, very carefully. Think about it. It's about a year until elections. He wants the Fed to start to cut rates now, about a year out. He knows he will have another 6 to 12 months afterwards to start blaming the Fed for the entire economic system coming down. This is the whole entire plan, and it is working absolutely perfectly. Now, the mainstream media and the deep state, they think what is happening here is that we're going to be heading into a recession during 2020. This is not the case. The stock market, the unemployment numbers, GDP numbers are going to look amazing. Once the election is over, everything will then start to fall apart. And this is the second part of the plan. Most likely, we're going to enter some type of currency crisis. Why do you think all these countries are purchasing gold? Why do you think the central banks said, you know something? We don't need an agreement anymore to sell gold because we're not going to do it anymore. There's no reason to do it. We're going to buy gold and hold on to gold. There's a reason why gold is being brought into the picture. There's a reason why gold is rising now. There's a reason why all of this is happening. Gold is the insurance policy. Everything is going to revert back to gold because it's going to expose the fiat currency as something that we should have never had. Something that was forced upon the people by the central bank system. And this fiat system, it is going to be completely exposed to everyone around the world. And the central bank, they're the ones who are going to be blamed for it all. And once we enter the currency crisis, once currency starts to drop, because everyone's lowering their currency to try to keep the system going, and as rates come down, it will be a complete and utter disaster. Gold will be introduced. Gold doesn't really have to do much except show its shiny face, and it will destroy the central banks because people will see gold as there's the money, there's the insurance policy. We'll have certain individuals in place to bring in sound money. This is all planned, and the plan is working perfectly. And we need to remember something very, very important. Since countries are purchasing gold, since central banks are purchasing gold, every single person in the United States should have gold, should have silver, should have junk silver. That is your insurance policy. And if you look back through history, you can see that gold, well, it's been around for thousands of years. We've been through many, many fiat systems, and gold has always been there. Everyone always reverts back to gold and silver. And it's the insurance policy. So why don't we look at the actions of countries, of central banks, and do exactly what they're doing? Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.